My name is Trevor Lecca, and I am Dubsado's product education lead. So today we're going to be going a little bit beyond Dubsado. We're going to be talking about smart tools and integrations for your business efficiency. And we get asked all the time here at Dubsado about how users can integrate other platforms, other softwares into their Dubsado business flow. Now, of course, Dubsado does a ton of the heavy lifting for you while you're managing your business, but there are plenty of good softwares out there that do some slightly different things that you may still want to integrate with Dubsado. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, and specifically three really heavy hitters, and that would be Notion, Flodesk, and Zapier. So talking about how to integrate those with Dubsado, that's the goal of today. And to help us do that, we're going to bring on today's guest, Jecelyn Shenkin, and she's a Dubsado certified specialist who's a business and marketing strategist with a passion for helping business owners quickly reach their goals, jump revenue brackets, and scale their businesses. She's ready to get you and your business unstuck, and she loves music, travel, and photography while she's constantly learning something new. So I want to go ahead and bring on Jecelyn Shenkin. Without any further ado, go ahead and bring her on the stream here. Takes just a second for it to come on over. There we go. Perfect. Hey, Jecelyn, how's it going?
Hi, good. Thanks so much for having me, Trevor.
No, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I cannot wait for this presentation. I got a little sneak peek of your slides, everybody, and they're fantastic. So I cannot wait to actually learn something new myself. I know I mentioned you like learning something new, but hopefully everybody here too can learn something new and help their business out.
I'm super excited. I can't wait to dive in. I'm so glad you guys are all here. This is one of my favorite topics. I was chatting with Trevor beforehand a little bit about just like nerding out on Notion databases, and I think it's super fun, but hopefully I can make it simple for those of you that don't feel like it's quite as fun. So I'm excited.
I will be able to. I'm super excited. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of your way in just a second here. But anybody who has questions while Jecelyn's talking, feel free to throw those in the chats and I'll be able to attend to them, or we'll go ahead and save them to the very end for Q&A at the end there. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jecelyn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my slides here. So give me just a minute to get everything all in the right view. I'm so glad you're here today, and I'm super excited to get started. Okay, so first off, who am I? Trevor went over it a little bit, but I'm a web designer. I'm a systems strategist. I've been a certified Dubsado specialist for several years, and I've been a Dubsado user since before their first rebrand, which I love the new branding. Way to go, marketing team. It's beautiful. I'm the owner of a company called Thrive HD, and I've been doing this for over 8 years now, which is crazy to think about. But I'm super excited to share what I've learned over the years and help make things a little bit easier for you. So I know for a lot of my clients, automation and integrating different softwares can really feel overwhelming and frustrating. It's a big sticking point. It's not something that feels easy when you're staring down a whole bunch of different softwares and trying to get them to do what you want to do. It can feel like a lot. So I don't think it needs to be that way. And so I want to break it down step by step, make it a much easier for you. And so if you stay to the end, I do have a template bundle that's going to be going up for sale, but I'm going to have it here for free for you guys and for the replay webinar people on the YouTube, all of that. I want you guys to have it for free. So there's going to be a whole bunch of templates for everything that we're talking about, so that you don't have to build it from scratch. Because I really want to make it simple for you guys. So first off, let's talk about why. Why even bother spending time putting together automations, integrating different softwares when you have 1,000 other things on your plate, both inside of your business and outside of your business? You've got clients and customers that need your attention. You probably have kids or maybe aging parents or people you're caring for. You have a life you're trying to live. There's a lot. And I totally get that. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I work from home with them here. And so I totally get that. Like, why should I invest time in doing this when it feels so overwhelming? But honestly, that is why. The reason why is because you have 1,000 things on your plate. And when you take a little bit of upfront time to set up these kinds of systems, it can take so much off of your plate. It's incredible. And hopefully, since you're already on Dubsado, hopefully you've discovered a lot of the incredible automations that are inside of Dubsado. It is like the absolute powerhouse for automating. It's the best. So hopefully you've already discovered that. And we're not going to be touching too much on Dubsado workflows in this because there's a lot of awesome trainings about that. Definitely go dive in. I've got stuff on my YouTube about it as well. So but we're going to be talking about how to bring all these other softwares together. So I have done the business bro to burnout pipeline. Maybe some of you are there with me or have been there, where you are hearing all the hype. You got to get up, you hustle and you grind and you work hard. And then pretty soon you grind yourself into the ground and you are burnt out. And we don't want that. So now I don't really ever work overtime. I have really pared down my work to the things that I care about and the things that I can do. And I don't have anybody working for me. It's just me. I don't have an army of people like doing things in my business. But I do like to say I have an army of robots that takes care of things in my business when I'm living the rest of my life, because I love my business. I love business, but I also love hiking and playing Stardew Valley and hanging out with my friends and my family. And I don't think that you should just be grinding yourself into the ground. You probably started your business because you wanted more freedom than what your job was giving you. And I think a lot of us do that and then end up working more than when we were just working for someone else. So this is why I am so passionate about this topic, because it can bring freedom for small businesses and solopreneurs, where you don't have the capacity to hire a whole bunch of people, but you can have these automations doing so much for you. So let's talk about what we are going to be talking about today. So I'm going to give you an overview of the 4 softwares that we are going to be discussing today. I'm going to outline the full automation that we're going to be building and that we've got the templates for. And then I'm going to do a live demo, and we're going to build the automation, or at least as much as we can get through in the time that we have. And then we will have a Q&A. And then at the end, I'll show you how you can connect with me, how you can get the slides and get all the templates and work with me if that feels like something you'd want to do. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's dive in. Okay, so these are the 4 softwares, like Trevor mentioned. We've got Dubsado, which we all know and love, Flodesk, Notion, and Zapier. So why bother stringing all these softwares together when you've got Dubsado that does so much? When we love Dubsado, I'm going to go through what each of these softwares does so that you can see how they fit together. So Dubsado, as you probably know, is a client relations manager. I use it for my contracts, invoices, payment processing. I do a lot with proposals. And then of course the workflows and automations for your leads and your clients. And it does so much with streamlining operations. It's incredible. Notion is my brain. I am extremely neurodivergent. And so I don't try to keep my brain inside of my head. I keep my brain on Notion. So this is where I put my documents and my databases. You can build out knowledge bases, both for internally in your company, but also externally for your clients, if that's something that's helpful for you. And I also do a lot of my project management inside of Notion. I like it because it's very flexible. You can kind of turn it into whatever you need it to be. So I feel like it works for lots of different brain types, whereas some other tools are much more fixed. And so it'll work for you or it won't. And then also just info management and anything that you need to remember, keep track of all of that. I put all of that in Notion. Flodesk is an email marketing platform. So you can send emails through Dubsado, but you can't do the mass marketing, newsletter, sending one email to many people. Flodesk, I love. There's so many email marketing softwares out there. I've tried quite a few of them. I love Flodesk personally because I am a designer and a systems strategist. So I need anything that I use to both be really beautiful and work really well, or I get very frustrated. So Flodesk, I feel like checks that box amazingly well. So you can design really, really beautiful emails, but then you also have the workflow function to handle the automation of sending that. So you're not needing to remember every time you get a lead to follow up with them and send another email, send another email. It also has forms and checkout pages for delivering freebies and selling digital products. The forms is built into the base subscription, and the checkout pages is extra. I also really like Flodesk because they don't charge you per subscriber. They have just like a flat rate, which is nice because I don't like getting penalized for growing my business. So I love that. And then use it for nurturing and selling directly to your email list. Zapier is the connector piece that brings all of it together. It is the tool that you use for automating multiple softwares at once. So most softwares that you use are not going to have a direct integration where they directly interlink. But a lot of times you need one software to talk to another software, and Zapier is the way to do that. So you create what's called zaps, where you take one piece of information from over here and you link it up over here. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so before we really start digging into that, I want to talk a little bit about automation foundations so that you know what some of these terms mean. Maybe you already know this, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So you have in automation, you have a trigger, which is the condition that starts the automation, and then the action, which is the predefined events that happen after the trigger. So, oops, sorry. So yes, you have something that starts it. So that could be your contract getting signed inside of Dubsado. And then there's an action that you tell it, when this happens, do this thing or multiple things. So I'm going to go over on this slide just very briefly. Don't feel like you have to write this down or even grab a screenshot. We'll send you the webinar slides out afterwards, so you have this. But I went and put together the available triggers and actions that are inside of Zapier for these three softwares. And keep in mind that there's way more than just these three softwares inside of Zapier. There's probably thousands. So if you're ever wondering, how can I make this thing talk to this thing, Zapier is the way to go. So I'll just go through this really briefly. So Dubsado triggers that you can use to start a workflow, start an automation inside of Zapier are contract signed, new payment received, new project is a job, new project is a lead, project status updated. Flodesk triggers you've got. So these are, again, how you start the automation. Subscriber added to segment, subscriber created, subscriber unsubscribed. Notion triggers, new database item, updated database item, updated page. And then over here, we've got all the actions that you can take inside of those softwares when that thing happens. So you've got like a Dubsado trigger contract signed that then leads over to create or update subscriber. This is the one that I use the most inside of Flodesk. It creates a subscriber if somebody's not subscribed, or it can update them to a specific segment if they're already subscribed. So I like this because you can do multiple things with it. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today, is when a Dubsado contract is signed and create or update a subscriber in Flodesk. So you can reference this when you get the slides. Let's talk a little bit about our automation. So I'm going to go through this. I want you to keep in mind that if this feels like a lot, you can implement just one piece of it. You don't have to do this whole thing. I wanted to talk you through the whole thing, which you'll see in a minute. I wanted to talk you through the whole thing so you can see a kind of comprehensive use case of how you could tie all of these softwares together and really use it in a way that helps you run your business efficiently. But you can set this up one little piece at a time, and it's still going to be hugely beneficial for you. So whichever part of it makes sense, if you don't feel like doing the whole thing or you don't have time right now, grab that one, set it up, and watch it like take hours off your plate. Okay, so in this one, we are going to be starting with a Dubsado lead form. You can also start this with a Flodesk form. But I wanted to start with a Dubsado lead form because a lot of you already have a Dubsado lead form embedded on your website or in your Instagram bio. You already have this in your system. It might be triggering workflows on the back end for you in Dubsado. So this is our starting place because I think a lot of you already have that set up. So rather than going, okay, now you have to add a Flodesk form, you got to add this thing, you add this thing. Let's start from where a lot of you are probably already starting, which is a great place to start. And then what we're going to do is we are going to zap that lead to Flodesk. That the little automations inside of Zapier, they call them zaps. So we'll zap that lead to Flodesk. So the reason you would do this instead of just emailing them only inside of Dubsado is as long as you have put a little email disclosure on your Dubsado lead form that just, hey, if you fill out this form, you're consenting to getting marketing emails for us. That way you're staying compliant. And you have that record of them choosing to opt in so that you don't get in trouble. So put a little disclosure on your lead form, just like a little text, and then you can zap that lead to Flodesk. And the reason you would do this is to get them inside of your email list when maybe they would be just living in Dubsado itself. And this allows you to, I'm sure all of you have had a situation where you have a lead, fill out your lead form, you send your follow-up automation, it's awesome, and they ghost you. And you don't want to be remembering, okay, I gotta follow up with them. I gotta follow up with them again. I gotta follow up with them again. And maybe you're 3 months down the line, you've forgotten they exist. They've forgotten you exist. But if you had them inside of something like Flodesk, where they're just getting nurture emails all the time, and you're staying on top of their mind, a client that might have ghosted you because they just forgot, they got busy, actually comes back around 6 months later and books with you. So we're going to zap the lead to Flodesk. And then this is going to start an automated welcome sequence in Flodesk. So I've got a template for this and for the zaps as well. And we are also going to talk about how to build them from scratch as well. So we're going to start a welcome sequence, which is just going to be a set of automated emails that goes out from Flodesk. And then after they finish that welcome sequence, if they haven't booked with you, they're on your email list, they're getting your weekly newsletter, and they could come back around and book with you. Now, inside of your welcome sequence, you're going to just link your normal booking process, whatever that is from Dubsado, into your Flodesk emails. So maybe that is, in my case, it's a scheduler. I do everything starting with a consult call. Maybe yours is a questionnaire, whatever it is. So your normal booking process, you're just going to link that inside of your welcome sequence in Flodesk to give them that opportunity to book with you. Then once the contract is signed inside of Dubsado, we're going to do a couple different things. The first thing we're going to do is zap the project to a Notion dashboard. So I'll show you this little Notion dashboard that I built for you guys that you can add to your Notion account. But you're going to zap the Dubsado project with all of the client info and all of that. You're going to zap it over to your Notion dashboard where you've got all of your projects so that you can keep track of it, because in Notion, and I'll show you this, you can do checklists, you can upload files, you can put all of the info that you need for yourself for that project inside of Notion. And this way you don't have to create the project manually and go over, okay, what was the client's phone number again? Look that up on Dubsado, put it over in Notion. It gets tedious. The other thing that we are going to do after the contract is signed is we are going to zap that client to Flodesk. But wait, I thought they were already in Flodesk. Well, there's a couple different things here. Maybe this is a client that came from a different source than this particular lead form that you have linked up to your Flodesk. or maybe you just want to update the subscriber. So this is where you're going to use that create or update subscriber zap, where you can update them in your Flodesk into the segment of clients. The other thing that's really cool that I wanted to touch on briefly is if you have an existing business relationship with somebody, for instance, they are a client, you need to communicate with them about whatever their project is. In my case, that would be web design or systems design. You are allowed to email them, and you're allowed to put them inside of your newsletter software and get them on your email list. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I've looked into, what I've read, you are allowed to, even if they didn't specifically try to sign up for your email list, if they are an existing client, you can pop them over to your email list without getting into trouble for that. So this is why I love this Zap, to make sure that anybody who is already a client is getting over onto your email list. Because I don't know about you, but for me, my clients that come back and then repeat and buy more services, they're the best. They are the ones that end up bringing in the most revenue. They're the ones that are the easiest to work with because they're already familiar with me and my process and the way it all works. And this is one way to make sure that happens, where you're zapping the client into Flodesk to make sure that they're getting your newsletter, they're getting it. And if you have a sale, that they know about it. If you, if you're a photographer, let's say, and you did a mini session with someone, you zap them over onto your Flodesk when they sign your little mini session contract link. And then you can let them know the next time you're doing mini sessions. You can let them know when your schedule is open for full sessions, etc. So this is a really good way to communicate with past clients without needing to go like, okay, I've got to think through all of my past clients and send them all an email. Just pop them on your email list and let it happen automatically. So, yes, that's it. You did it. Well, we still have to build it, but that is the way the automation is going to go. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for a minute, jump over, and then start sharing, and we are going to demo this thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop share and do that. Okay. So I'm going to start with, let me pull my screen back up here. Okay, I'm going to start with showing you how to build a workflow inside of Flodesk. It's really simple. So you're going to be here in your workflows section. You're just going to hit new workflow. And I'm just going to go ahead and start from scratch. They have a lot of really cool templates, and you'll also be able to import my template that I built for this. But we're just going to start from scratch here so that you can see exactly how it works. Okay, so again, we've got trigger and then we've got actions. So there's two ways to trigger the start of a workflow in Flodesk. You can either do subscriber added to segment, or someone subscribes through a form. So this is if you have a specific form set up in Flodesk where you're collecting those email addresses, this is what you would use. And then this subscribers added to a segment is what we're going to be using today, because we are zapping them in from an external source. They're not filling out a form on Flodesk. And actually, you could use both of these. It gives you the option to add a trigger, so you could do either or I mean, you can do them both together. So for now, we're going to do subscribers added to segment, and then you can open up and see all your segments. And then if you need a new segment, you can create one here. So we'll create a demo segment. All right, so now you've got your trigger, a subscriber is added to segment demo. When anybody gets added to this segment, either manually, automatically, however, they're going to start this workflow inside of Flodesk. And you can see here, there's nothing happening after that. They add to a segment, they exit the workflow. We don't want that. So we're going to hit the little plus sign here. And there's a few things you can do. Now, today we're going to be keeping it really simple, and we're going to build out a welcome sequence, not going to be doing a lot with conditional logic or anything like that for this. If that's something you want to dive in more, like shoot me an email. I'll put up a YouTube video about it. I'm happy to talk more about any of this stuff. Just let me know what you want to hear about, and I'm so happy to dive in deep. So we're going to do an email as the next step. So generally, with these kinds of welcome sequences, a lot of times you've got some kind of freebie that you are giving away in exchange for the email address, and you can just put that info on your lead form. Get my 12-step checklist to posing for your photo session, whatever it is. You got some kind of freebie that they're going to be getting. Oftentimes, if that's the case, you're going to not want to put a time delay up here. You're just going to want to send an email immediately. So then when you click send email, you can either create a new email from scratch, or you can duplicate an existing email. I'm going to go ahead and just grab this freebie delivery. And this is a part of the template. It's got a little kind of fill in the blank, make it easy for you. Now here, you don't want to just add another email right away, because it will just send them one right after another. So you want to make sure that you add a time delay. I usually like to do about a day. There's lots of different philosophies on that. When they first get into your ecosystem, you're going to want to be talking to them more often, and then you can space it out a little bit. So I wouldn't send an email, wait a week. Some people say wait a few hours. Some people wait a day. Some people do 5 hours and then a day and then 2 days. And then I just kind of like to keep it simple, one day at a time. I don't love getting 1,000 emails from somebody right after I sign up. It feels overwhelming to me. So I like to do a 1 day delay and then add another email, etc. So you're going to do that until you get to exactly where you want it to be, however many you want. So we can throw this in there. And then if you have an email that you've previously sent, if you're already a Flodesk user, or you wanted to create the template beforehand, you can edit it right here. So you can open it up, you can edit it. And that way you're not stuck with exactly what that email was. You can always change it. This is where you add the subject line, the preview text, etc. So then whenever you've got the amount of emails that you want in there for your welcome sequence, you can just hit publish. And then anytime somebody is added to that demo segment, then they're going to go into this workflow. Next, I'm going to show you a little bit of the Notion dashboard here. So Notion's super fun. Like I said, you can do almost anything with it in terms of this sort of information tracking and storage and all of that. I set up a pretty little dashboard here that's just simple and straightforward, that hopefully just gets you what you need to get started on this. You can go on and on and on and on with Notion and do so much. So this has a today tab that's going to show you just the tasks that are due today. And then a this week view, where you've got the tasks that are due this week are going to show up here. And then it's got this little button here where you can do add a task. And then if you want to add any info, let's put a due date of, let's make it today so that we can see it pop up. And then just click out of it. And there it is. It's on the today tab. If we change the due date, never mind. Let's do this tomorrow. Now you're not going to see it on that today tab. All my Zoom controls are getting over my Notion and I can't see. There we go. But you've got it here in the week tab. And then if you're not wanting to look at this right now, go away. I made a place for you to add your goals. So I like to know what I'm going after and have that in front of me. So these are all their own pages. And then you can make a page inside of a page inside of a page, and it goes on for days. But one of the things you can do inside of Notion, if you hit the slash button, it will bring up this whole list of things that you can do. So let's say you just wanted to make a simple checklist. We're just going to do slash and start typing to do. And then you've got to do list. It makes this little checkbox. So got So you can see all I'm doing is just pressing enter and it's going to make those. You can do, let's do a slash and do a heading. You can add images. And so then again, the way you do this, you just hit slash and then start typing the thing that you want or scroll through the list. You can do an image and you can even grab one off of Unsplash. You can search here. So that's where I pulled all of these cover images and stuff like that. So you can see this is very flexible. You can also add a database, which we're not going to dive into too hard today because it can get to be a lot, but it's amazing the functionality on that. And the databases are what the tasks and project are set up for in this. And then I've got this little navigation bar over here so you can quickly get to projects. You can see the projects that are here. These also show up on that homepage dashboard tasks. You can see I've got some sample stuff in there, and then you can go back to the dashboard. You can put links here. So maybe you have a link that you're constantly copying and pasting to your clients. It's your book a call scheduler. It's your website. It's whatever. You can add that here, and then you can edit all of this as well. And then this is your projects down here, and this is what we're going to be zapping over in a little bit. So that's a kind of a quick overview of Notion. Again, if you want to dive in any deeper to this, feel free to ask questions and I will get to as many of them as I can when we get to the Q&A section. And then also shoot me an email and let me know if there's a YouTube video that you want me to make, and I will try to go as in-depth as I can on all of this. Okay, now we are going to dive into the exciting and sometimes feels a little bit daunting part. We're going to get into Zapier. So these are the zaps that I made that I've shared as a template that you guys can get the links at the end of this. Oh, that's odd. Okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing because it logged me out. So give me just a second to log back in. I don't know why it logged me out, but that's okay. So yeah, I've got all those templates that you can grab and import, but I'm also going to go through how to actually make this because I want you to be equipped with the how, not just the being able to import, which is awesome. But also like how to actually set this up for yourself for what you need. Okay, I think I'm logged back in. So let me reshare here. Okay, so these are the zaps that I've got in the templates, but we're going to go through and create a new one here. So we're going to start with this first one. Okay, so you'll notice here this says free. So I've got a couple different options on this. There's free accounts on Zapier and paid accounts on Zapier. I set up the templates so that you can use them just with a free account on Zapier because I know having 1,000 different subscriptions can get kind of taxing when you're a small business. So if you have a much more complex use case where you're needing to do multiple steps and filtering and all of that, you'll need to sign up for a paid plan. If you just need like a pretty simple link this to this, then you can stick with the free plan. And I built the templates with the free plan in mind, so that you weren't forced to sign up for, something that is maybe you're not going to use that much. But there's amazing like upgradability here. So we're going to create this zap. I'll go ahead and open it up so you can see. So we're going to do this, and then I'm going to show you a modification on this that would require a paid plan. But it will kind of make it a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to show you how to make this one. All right, so when you hit new Zap, you're going to come to this page here where they also have this little beta testing AI, what can I help you automate? And you can type in what you want it to do there and see what it comes up with. I haven't had the best of luck with it. I usually just do it manually, but worth a try. I'm sure it'll be amazing soon enough. All right, so we're going to select the trigger and you can see there's just lots of different apps. Excuse me. So we are going to, 7,000 plus apps and tools. So if you're wondering if Zapier hooks up to it, yes, I'm sure it does. All right, so we are going to start with Dubsado. So you can just start typing. There it is. And you may need to, I believe there's a section in the integration section of your Dubsado. Actually, I'll just bring you over here, sample contract. So in settings and then integrations, you can do Zapier, although it doesn't look like I'm doing that. So I think they changed it a little bit and I don't think you need to do that. So scratch that. So anyways, so you're going to hook this up. It will walk you through the first time you do this, logging into your account and selecting the permissions and all of that. So it'll take you through that. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is already linked up to my account. So we're going to do Dubsado, select the event. In this one, we are going to do new project as a lead. Then we're going to select the account. I've got a couple different ones in here. So you hook it up to the correct Dubsado account and then you hit continue. Now it's going to take you to a testing page where you're going to test your trigger to make sure that it's hooked up and pulling in the right things. So you're going to hit test trigger. And then it pulls up some various different projects as a lead. And yes, this will work. This is a sample one that I set up. So you can look through and see if does this fit what I need to be able to test. So we'll do project C. If it doesn't pull what you're looking for, or if you go, all right, I'm going to do a test and then you remember, oh, I actually need to go set up a sample to be able to test this. You can go set that up on Dubsado, come back and then hit find new records and it'll pull in stuff. So if you're ever needing to refresh the data that Zapier is pulling from, you can just hit find new records and it'll do that. So anyways, we're going to go with project C, continue with selected record, and then it's going to pop up and ask you which software you want to use for the action. So in this case, we're going to do Flodesk. All right, so then we're going to choose an event, which is the action, events, actions. And we are going to do create/update subscriber. Add an account. And again, the first time you do this, it's going to walk you through logging into everything. So the first time is going to take a little bit longer, but it's not hard. All right. And then this is where we are going to configure it. All right. So we're going to tell it what segment. So let's do demo. And then here, you don't want to just type in an email because then every time it goes to create a lead inside of Flodesk, it's going to put what you typed. So instead, we're going to use field mapping. So again, we're going to type our handy little slash, and it's going to pull up all of the data that it pulled from the Dubsado lead. And then you can click here. So we want email, we want email, and it gives you a little sample of what that is pulling from your test data. But if you're using field mapping, it's the same way you have the smart fields inside of Dubsado, where if you make that smart field, it's going to pull that info from the data that it has. This is the same thing here. So you're going to do that. We'll do the same thing here, slash first name, slash last name. You could do double opt-in or not, phone number, slash here. Okay, that's all my info there. So because I had it pull that demo. So now that you've configured it, you are going to hit continue, and then you are going to test it. So keep in mind that if you are testing this, it is, even though it's running a test, it is going to send a real subscriber over to a real segment in your real Flodesk. So make sure that you're either running this test on someone that you're fine with sending whatever automated emails you have set up to send out, or you are just in this case, testing it on yourself, which is what I like to do. I like to make a demo project and then test it on myself, because this will send this over and add them as a subscriber into your Flodesk, and it will start any automations that you have set up on Flodesk. So just a word of caution there. So we're going to hit test step. And then you can go over to Flodesk, and we're going to go check audience and segments. Now you can see demo. Oh, look, we have a subscriber in there. It worked. There it is. That's how you know that it's working. Now we can also come over to workflows and see that this little button in the bottom, one total entry, one person in workflow. We can hit the details and come see, look, somebody entered this workflow. So like I was saying, you send a test over, but it's real data, and it's going to do that. So you can hit details and kind of see what's there. So this is working. We know that it's working. Once we know that it's working, we can hit publish, or if we're not quite ready, we can just leave it saved as a draft. We can hit publish. I want to go over the option that you can do if you have a paid plan. We are going to add a step here in the middle. So on the free plan, you can only do one step. So in this case, anytime we've got a project as a lead, it's pushing over to Flodesk, adding them to the thing. This is not going to work super well if you have a very specific freebie that needs to go to a very specific subset of people. This is great if you just have a general welcome email that you sent out, or you generally want to put them on your list. This is going to work awesome for you. You can take that, you can run with it. It's going to do a lot. If you want to get a little bit more granular, and I know we got to move into question and answer pretty soon here, but we're going to do filter. And then this is how you can set it up, where it filters the data and it'll only pass it along if it meets certain conditions. So we're going to do this. I'm going to do the status. So this is your Dubsado project status over on your project page. It's this up here. So whatever you have those set up for. So we're going to do, in this case, I put website lead. So we're only going to only continue if the status matches. Right. So you're going to do status, choose condition, and we'll do text contains, and then just type in the name of your segment, website lead. Now it's going to test it, and it's going to see if this lead you pulled in is going to get passed on to the next step. So the filter ran, and it lets you know this Zap would have continued for this test data. So then you know, okay, was this supposed to continue? Was this in the segment that I wanted it to be, or in the project funnel thing at the top that I want it to be? And if yes, then this guy lights up green. If you know this wasn't in the right category and it passes it along, then you'll need to go look at that. So this lets you know, yes, this would have continued for this. And then you hit continue, and then you have the thing. So then it's only going to send people to that specific segment if the filter conditions are met. So this is great if you have more specific granular separation that you need to do, in which case you would have to upgrade to a Zapier paid plan. The free one works really well also. So I'm going to very quickly go show you how to create the other two, or at least one more, and then we'll dive into the Q&A. Okay, so we are going to hit create, and we're going to do create new Zap. All right, so again, we've got the trigger and the action. So this is the one we're going to have it set up again in Dubsado. I do a lot of my Zaps from Dubsado into the other software, but you can go the other way as well. In this case, we're going to do contract signed. Nope, not that account. And then we're gonna test it. And this should pull up another demo test that I put together. All right, test trigger. Go, let's see. Yep, that's me again. Perfect. Continue with selected record. All right, now in this one, we are going to go to Notion. This is going to be our create Notion database. Now, the other Zap that we have set up that I don't think we're going to quite have time to cover today is also another going from Dubsado to Flodesk. It's going to be the exact same process as the first one that we talked about. And this one's a little bit different, so I want to go over it. So this is contract signed in Notion, contract signed in Dubsado, and then in Notion, we're going to have it create a database item. So this is where we're going to be adding the Dubsado project to a Notion project. So we have this Notion project database already set up over here. That's this guy. This is a project database. You can also see it here in slightly different view. So we're going to have it add to this. All right, so it's all hooked up. I'm going to hit continue. All right, and then we have to tell it which database to send it to. Hopefully this is the right one. Because I have a few different ones named projects. Sometimes it shows up in funny orders. So we're going to do name. We're going to do our handy little slash and project title so that it has the same title in Dubsado as in Notion. If you have that, we're going to leave that one blank. This one, again, we're going to do email. I'm going to click that slash phone number. Status, we're going to do in progress, or whichever one. We do in progress since the contract's signed. Include time with date fields. We don't need that. We don't need to show the time where it's doing the dates. And then we're going to do project dates. So I'm going to do and this is if you don't have project dates, just leave this part blank. But if you have project dates set up in Dubsado, you can transfer them over to Notion. So we're going to do start date and put project start and then end date. Okay, let's see. Maybe I didn't do the end date on that, so we'll just leave that one blank. And this is going to have to be configured a little bit in Notion. But the template that I set up already has this configured. And so yeah, we can dive into that a little deeper another time. And then we're just going to leave the content blank and I'll show you why in a moment. So you got all that data in there. We're going to hit continue and we're going to hit test step and we're going to let that do that. We're going to go check Notion. I'm going to see if I did the correct database or if I put it in one of my other template databases. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So the reason we left the content blank is you can't have Zapier pull use a template to make your database page. So you can set up templates inside of your database, inside of Notion. And I like to do that because I like all of my projects to have the same information. So the reason we're leaving content blank is now that we have it created where it got all of the nitty gritty info, and you can put a ton of different stuff up here and this all gets filled in. We should have put client name in there. We missed that one. But since the content is empty, this gives you your templates that you have set up for this database. And we're just going to hit the new page one and it's automatically going to fill this in. Now you've got your project brief, a checklist, a place to upload files. And this is a template that you can set up whatever templates to have whatever info you want that you know I'm going to be doing this same thing. Maybe if you have a specific checklist that you go through with every client, you could put that in there. So we leave the content section blank on Zapier. And then we just hit the little template button over here, but it still saves so much time setting up these projects. So let me pull up my slides here a little bit so you can see how to connect with me if you want to dive into this deeper or if you want to work with me. I do have a few slots open for my consult calls, but not a lot. So if you want one of those, jump on. You can see if working together is a good fit. You've got the template pack that you can grab. It's at this link, thrivehd.com/Dubsado webinar. I'm sure Trevor will be sending that out also. And you've got the QR code. And you can get on my email list if you want to email me. Literally just reply to an email. It's me reading those emails behind the scenes. It's my inbox. You can get to me directly that way. And then check out my YouTube channel as well. And we can dive into question and answer. I know that was probably a little bit like drinking out of a fire hose, but I'm happy to answer questions. So I think Trevor's going to pop back in.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Fantastic job. Really, really
Thank
well done.
you.
That was a lot of ground to cover. So I'll take a deep breath. You've done it. That was a really nicely done job there. We do have some questions, so I'm happy to jump over. Pull them over here from the side. Okay, fantastic. So we had a longer question from Alcindo, and I want to read it in its entirety just to give you kind of the context here. So that he mentioned he wanted to thank you for sharing your process, and he does his welcome process in Dubsado just to try to reduce friction, to try to not be as bureaucratic. But in his experience, he's seeing that it's not as effective for his clients. Sometimes they're overwhelmed with all the information, and sometimes they're concerned with not getting updates on the schedule or their dashboard. And again, in his case, he has multiple projects happening. So his question is, how do you reduce the friction with client communication and information with all these tools? So really, like if you have both the Dubsado workflow going at the same time as zapping somebody over to your Flodesk, maybe marketing flow. And what are your thoughts on that?
So I would say all of this really needs to start with a really good like client journey mapping session where you sit down and you figure out exactly what you want this to look like. And obviously that's going to come in lots of different iterations. It changes as you get more information. But absolutely, you don't want to be hitting them up with a welcome sequence over here and a welcome sequence over here and this over there. It's going to get really overwhelming. So I wouldn't do a welcome sequence in Flodesk at the same time as you're doing a welcome sequence in Dubsado. So this is kind of more in this specific use case. They're just a lead. They haven't bought anything with you yet. You're trying to convert them using your email marketing. And then for me, my client communication kind of moves into Dubsado after they've signed. You could also, if you like your welcome sequence inside of Dubsado, just zap them over to your email list and just let them sit there and get your newsletters whenever you send them out. You don't have to start an automation in Flodesk by putting them into your email list, but definitely like map your client journey out. Just sit down with a piece of paper, figure out the steps that you want them to go through, and then build all of your automations with that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it sounds more like kind of like you said, mapping that out to begin with, as well as you want to have either more on one side than the other, and not the same amount of content both in Dubsado and in Flodesk, right? Kind of
definitely don't be hitting them up from both sides at the same time.
Exactly. And on the points of client mapping, I'll do a little bit of a plug here, but exactly a week from today, we do have another Dubsado certified specialist coming on to talk exactly about that client journey mapping. So if you want to dig more into that topic there, Alcindo, join us next week. I'd love to see you there. But yeah, on that same kind of topic between Dubsado and Flodesk, there were some questions in the chat while you were doing that portion there. Kind of, I want to disambiguate the difference between the two. I think some folks were a bit confused between Dubsado workflows and Flodesk workflows. And I'll just state as well, right? You don't need to have Flodesk in order for your Dubsado workflows to operate correctly.
No, you don't.
They're two separate entities. They happen to use the same workflow terminology. But what I wanted to ask you, Jecelyn, was what are some other use cases or scenarios where you'd want to do, one thing in Dubsado, whereas Flodesk might be better for something else? Obviously, like you said, your monthly newsletters, but what other kind of things would you typically send from Flodesk, just to kind of give the folks their bearings here a little bit?
So I like to think of Flodesk as my marketing and Dubsado as my operations. So if I'm communicating with a client in an operational setting where they're a web client or a systems client, and I'm communicating with them about their project, there's going to be a lot of workflows happening inside of Dubsado that are doing sending those emails out. I'm not at that point also going to be sending them a whole bunch of marketing emails over on Flodesk, trying to get them to buy because they already did. So Flodesk is where I do my marketing either before they've bought or after their project is over and a little bit of time has passed, remarketing back around to try to bring them back over here. So that's how I split it. It's marketing and operations. If we're doing marketing, it's happening in Flodesk. If we're doing operations, it's happening in Dubsado.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So there is like a touch of an overlap, but it's usually one's happening at one time and then it kind of hands off to the other one as maybe a project ends, the Flodesk might start, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Fantastic. Cool. And then I had a question as well, kind of while you were going through one of your zaps there, and I may have missed this while I was typing out my question, but that new lead in Dubsado zap that zaps it over to your Flodesk workflow. Is there any special considerations that you would need to take into account if, let's say, you have a client who is already in a Flodesk segment or a Flodesk workflow? Does that zap break or function correctly if, let's say, they're already in that that Flodesk workflow, and then it tries to zap them again? Or how does that operate if they're already in the Flodesk workflow?
Yeah, so that's actually a setting that you can toggle on or off inside of your Flodesk workflow. So you can give people the opportunity to repeat the workflow, or you can leave it so that if they get added to that segment again or fill out a form again, they won't repeat the workflow. So that's going to depend per the use case, but that's a setting inside of that Flodesk workflow of whether someone's allowed to repeat it or not. The Zap will still run, but then Flodesk will kind of take over from there and decide what to do with it.
Fantastic. That makes perfect sense. Just because, like, like you mentioned before, those repeat clients are really big, business for you, right? And they're easy to work with for you, but definitely want to encourage those people to do that. But you don't want to have a process in there where it's making it a bit stickier for those folks to understand what's happening if they're getting the same emails over and over again. And if they have a second project in Dubsado, that could potentially happen. So that makes sense.
Yep.
Just handle that.
You could also set up a Zap where when the contract is signed in Dubsado, you move them. Well, we one of the reasons we would move them from into the client's segment in Flodesk is to turn off those marketing emails. So we didn't get a chance to dive in super hard to that, but that is one of the things you can do from Dubsado into Flodesk to make sure you're not getting 1,000 emails coming from everywhere all at once.
Got it. So at that point, the kind of maybe midway through your Dubsado process where the contract gets signed, you can then turn off some of that marketing email so that you're not trying to sell to them still.
Exactly.
Fantastic. No, that makes perfect sense. Thank you for answering those questions. We'll give everybody just maybe another 30 seconds. If you have any other questions here in the chat, go ahead and throw those in there. But just while I'm wrapping up here, Jecelyn, thank you again so much for taking the time today. And that was a really fantastic presentation. I just thought it was really great. And this is going to be posted to our YouTube channel. I'll make sure to include that link that you had there that includes your freebies, as well as the link to this presentation, so everybody can find that again in the future. But Jecelyn, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think we're all good to go with no other questions here today. So
amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, everybody. This was a blast.
yes, fantastic. All right, everybody, we will catch you on the next webinar next week, client journey map, and we'll see you there. Thank you, everybody. Bye there.